It was the year 793 AD. On the peaceful English coast, the monastery of Lindisfarne echoed with the sound of bell. But suddenly, through the mist rising from the sea, long ships with black sails cut through the waves. The men who leapt from those ships didn't just wield swords. Their faces carried a coldness more terrifying than death itself. And the question is, were they merely raiders or a civilization that connected the entire world? And the bigger question, how did such a powerful civilization suddenly vanish from history? The Vikings were born in the icy lands of Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Mountains touched the sky, valleys remained covered in fog, and the seas roared with storms. This was a land where the soil could not always feed the people, but the sea could fulfill their dreams. Viking society was divided into three classes. At the top were the jarls, chieftains, and kings. In the middle were the Bondi farmers and craftsmen. And at the bottom were the thralls, slaves, whose lives ended in servitude. But women were not powerless here. The key in their hands symbolized authority. They could own property, participate in assemblies, and even command trading ships. The Viking gods lived in their blood and in their dreams. Odin, the one-eyed god of war and wisdom. It is said he hung himself upside down on the great world tree Yggdrasil for 9 days to gain knowledge. Thor, the god of thunder and storms. When thunder rolled across the skies, the Vikings believed Thor was striking with his mighty hammer Mjolnir. Legends tell of how he once stormed the land of giants to protect his people. Freyja, goddess of love and war. It was believed that in every battle, half of the warriors slain went to Odin's Valhalla, while the other half were taken by Freyja to her hall, Folkvanger. Death, for the Vikings, was never a lonely journey. Loki, the trickster. His tales are mysterious, sowing discord among the gods, befriending giants, and fathering the monstrous wolf Fenrir. Destined, it is said, to devour the world in the end times. Tyr, god of justice and war. To bind Fenrir, he sacrificed his own hand. His bravery became a timeless story of courage and loyalty. The gods of the Vikings were not distant myths, but living spirits guiding their battles and their dreams. Storms in the sky, Thor's rage. The whisper of runes, Odin's wisdom. The howls of wolves, a reminder of the fate that awaited all. The Vikings lived in longhouses, wooden halls with thatched roofs. Inside, smoke, ash, and darkness filled the air. As families and animals endured the winters together, their circular fortresses, Trelleborgs, rose in Denmark. With 4 gates and long rows of houses inside. Their trading towns, like Birka and Helgo in Sweden, bustled with merchants and craftsmen. Jorvik, modern-day York, became a Viking stronghold. And Dublin, emerged as a center of coin minting and the slave trade. Viking towns were not only places of survival, but hubs of international commerce. Now, imagine a Viking ship hundreds of miles from land, surrounded only by endless blue waters and a black sky. Rowers pull their oars until blood runs down their hands. Icy winds cut like knives against their skin. Their food, only dried fish and hard bread, eaten with hands soaked by seawater. At night, under an open sky, they look to the stars and pray to their gods that storms do not swallow them whole. Yet it was these very ships and these very hardships that carried them all the way to North America. Centuries before Columbus had even dreamed of it. The sea was both their greatest enemy and their greatest ally. Their farms were small, but their hunger was vast. They grew barley and rye in the harsh soil. They preserved meat and fish by smoking them. In Greenland, seals and walruses became their lifeline. Their drink, mead, was made from honey. More than a beverage, it was the soul of every feast. At night, gathered around fire, the golden drink passed through hands. Songs and sagas grew louder with every sip. Their clothes were woven from wool and linen. Women spun, stitched, and even made the sails of longships. They adorned themselves with golden buckles and silver bracelets. Glass beads shone around their necks. Many carved tattoos into their skin, runes believed to carry divine protection, and their teeth etched with strange grooves. Perhaps a mark of victory, or maybe a tool of fear. Their faces in battle would shine with symbols meant to terrify. Every stitch, every mark, every groove carried meaning. They wore their history on their skin. And their fashion was as much about survival as about pride. In every detail, the Vikings carried their identity like armor. The sea was their true empire. Their longships could glide across rivers and carve through oceans alike. Their trade routes stretched from Scandinavia to Russia, Baghdad, the Arab world, and even China. They sold slaves, furs, and amber. And in return, they brought silver, spices, and silk. On Gotland Island in Sweden, archaeologists have found more than 200,000 Viking silver coins, a treasure trove of their vast trade. But the most terrifying mark of the Vikings was their war. Imagine dawn breaking on a quiet coastal village. Fishermen casting their nets, children laughing, playing by the shore. And then, from the mist, emerge longships with black sails. By the time villagers realize what's happening, death is already knocking at their door. The holy monastery of Lindisfarne in England. Monks chanting prayers when Viking ships stormed ashore. They plundered treasures of gold and silver. They burned sacred books and slaughtered the monks. It wasn't just a raid. It was a message to Europe. We are here. Ragnar Lothbrok arrived with 120 ships. The black sails blocked the Seine as Paris trembled. The Vikings laid siege to the city, looting and burning. King Charles, desperate to save his people, paid them a fortune in gold. That day, the Vikings bent an empire to its knees. The Vikings even reached Muslim Spain. They plundered Seville, setting mosques ablaze. They filled their ships with treasure chests. The shock was so great, the Arabs had to raise a new navy just to face these demons of the sea. For the Vikings, raiding was not just a means to wealth. It was their identity, their devotion to the gods, and their way of writing new lines into the sagas. History tells us much, but some Viking secrets still whisper unanswered questions. From ancient graves, archaeologists uncovered Viking teeth marked with deep grooves. Some believe each cut was a trophy of victory, etched like scars of glory. Others say they were weapons of fear, grins carved to terrify enemies before battle. But the truth, still buried beneath the soil. Then came a discovery no one expected. On the Swedish island of Helgö, a small bronze Buddha was unearthed. Made in the Swat Valley of Pakistan. How did it get there? Did the Vikings truly sail to Asia? Or was it just one link in a vast trade chain, connecting worlds long before we imagined? And then, the Berserkers. Warriors who charged into battle naked, without armor, roaring like beasts. Some say they were drugged, intoxicated into madness. Others believe Odin himself filled them with divine fury. But their screams, those screams still echo in sagas. And some say, if you listen carefully in the northern forests, you might still hear them carried on the wind. So, why did the Vikings vanish? Some say they blended into the lands they conquered, losing their identity. Some say Christianity erased their gods. Some say the changing climate, the Little Ice Age, crushed their colonies. And some point to 1066, the Battle of Stamford Bridge, where Harold Hardrada fell. The last breath of the Viking Age. But did the Vikings truly disappear? Or did they simply transform into our blood, our languages, and our stories? Their ships may be gone, but their legends still sail upon the waves. The waves of the sea remain the same. And once upon a time, those waves carried ships that shook the world. So, friends, what do you think? What was the Vikings' greatest mystery? Their swords. Or their gods?